Well, hello there. This is Father Dominic at Holy Trinity Parish in Beaverton. And I thought I would talk today about, first of all, Pope-splaining. You might or might not have heard that term. If you haven't, just as well. But it's kind of a way that people dismiss whatever someone says that they don't like, or they don't understand, or they don't want to engage with. And so then they use kind of this sarcastic term, which they call splaining. And so if you explain something to someone, then they say, you're just such and such splaining, from what I understand. So people say that about those who want to explain the teachings of, say, the Holy Father. It would be the same as like saying that your math teacher was math-splaining. That's just a sarcastic way of dismissing what somebody who's accomplished is trying to do, which is teach math. So as a priest, it's literally my job to try to explain to people what the Holy Father is saying and doing. Maybe what people mean is making excuses for when something's wrong, or trying to explain away something. But why would we be worried about that? The Holy Father is the Vicar of Christ on earth. The Holy Father is the sort of focal point of unity in the Church. So it's our job as Catholics to accept what the Holy Father tells us. It's our job to listen with docile hearts. It's our job to embrace what he teaches us with humility. It's not our job to try to question that or dismiss that or ask, what's the Pope's agenda with this? So anyway, that's kind of the environment in which we live. So you try to explain the Holy Father's teaching, and immediately people will attack you for those things. As I say, hopefully you haven't run into that. But it does happen. But I think it's important. It's important to say that, and it is important to explain what the Holy Father is saying, what the Holy Father is doing, what he wishes to teach us. And one of the things that he recently has been teaching us is about Mary. And he's been doing that through the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith. They call it the DDF. And that's a department in the Vatican that helps us to understand our faith and to think carefully and critically about the ways that we express our faith. Because sometimes we can express our faith in ways that are not helpful. And so a document came out, which I read this last week, and it talks about two titles of Mary. The name of the document is Mater Populi Fidelis, and it's a letter. It's not like a papal encyclical, which would be a very high-level letter. It's an explanation, it's a clarification that's coming out from this doctrinal office, but nevertheless it has the Holy Father's signature on it. So it's something that's official, it's something that's coming from him, it's something that has been done under his authority to help us to understand different aspects of our faith. So this document, Mater Populi Fidelis, clarifies two titles of Mary. It says we should not say that Mary is co-redemptrix and mediatrix, and especially not mediatrix of all graces. Those titles sound kind of complicated. You may not have heard them, and if you haven't, that's just as well, because we're not going to need them. These are sort of titles that have come in, even used by saints, used by popes, used in various ways, but without being defined. And what the little note says, it says these are titles that can be very easily misunderstood. There's a way in which we can understand them properly, and that's when they've been used, presumably how they've been used or understood. But there's also ways that they could be misunderstood. And so rather than using a title for Mary that could be misunderstood, we should try to use titles for Mary that can be understood, that can be helpful when we're talking to people. And many of our separated brothers and sisters, especially those who come from, various Protestant traditions, have a real difficulty with what they see as an overemphasis given to Mary. Now, if you understand the Church's teaching correctly, you'll know that the Church sees the place of Mary as very important, but we don't worship Mary, right? We're not giving Mary some sort of exaggerated devotion. We're not putting Mary in the place of Jesus. But these titles would especially make Protestants think that, or maybe even Catholics who aren't very well educated or don't know, might think those sort of things as well. So we shouldn't use those titles. And the title Co-Redemptrix is trying to say that Mary helps in the redemption of Jesus. Because for a while they were just saying Redemptrix. And that obviously was wrong. It's like a feminine version of Redeemer. That's what that trix means in Latin. So Mary helps in the redemption of Jesus. Well, obviously that's true. That's totally true. I mean, we all do, right? And Mary, in a very particular way, as united as she is to her Son, helps in the redemption. But using that title can make it sound like Mary and Jesus are sort of equal and they're doing it together. And that's not true. Mary is a creature and Jesus is God, the one Redeemer that has been given to us. So Mary can help in that, but we shouldn't use that title lest we give the wrong impression that Mary and Jesus are sort of equal in some way, which is not the case. And there's this other title, Mediatrix, and especially Mediatrix of all graces. Well, the title Mediatrix of all graces, it's very easy to say that that's not true. And again, Mediatrix is like mediator, but with a feminine Latin form, which is a trix again. And Mary's not the mediatrix, not the one who mediates, not the one who channels, who brings about the grace of her own salvation. And that's clearly a grace. So she can't be the mediatrix of all graces. That's obviously absurd. So right there we have a problem with that title if we were to say mediatrix of all graces. If we were just to say mediatrix, again, it's true. We all mediate the grace of God, right? We all are sort of channels for people who can be an instrument to pass the grace of God on to others. But none of us is, in the proper sense, mediator. That's because it says very clearly in the Bible that there is one mediator, Jesus Christ. So just like when you call a priest, you call me a priest, you call Father Bill a priest, we're priests in the sense we participate in the priesthood of Christ. And priest means somebody who makes a bridge between God and human beings, God and the world. But there's only one priest in the true sense, and that's Jesus Christ, right? So it's a sort of a shorthand to say the sacramental priesthood participates in that. So we can say, yes, we all participate in Jesus' mediation. And Mary in a very particular way, and even giving birth to Jesus, she participates that in a beautiful way, in a fundamental way. It's through her that Jesus comes about, and therefore it's through her that all graces come into the world, because it's through her Jesus Christ comes. So in that sense, you could say that, you could say it properly. But you have to be really careful and make those proper distinctions. And the document says it's better to talk about Mary as the mother, not so much mediator, not so much redeemer, but mother. She's the mother of the mediator. She's the mother of the redeemer. She's our mother, because we all participate in the life of Christ. We're all part of this beautiful body of Christ, which is the church. So hopefully that helps you to understand the document, and hopefully the document helps us to understand better the place of Mary and to be careful when we're talking about Mary's place in the church, that we use our words properly, that we don't give the wrong impression, and that we ourselves understand and love and appreciate Mary as our mother, but also understand that she brings us to Jesus, which is the most important fundamental thing that we should understand. So there's a little bit of explaining for you, I suppose, and hopefully it was helpful. God bless you and see you soon.